add a new playlist to my ever-expanding channel, and that playlist is abstract, as in abstract war games. What is an abstract war game? Well, it's something that has the feel of a war game or some kind of military conflict, but played in an abstract space. You know, the classic example, of course, is chess. And I can only speak for myself, but chess was one of my first experiences with any kind of war game, followed shortly thereafter by Risk, and then into, mainstream board war gamings with, Third Reich and Squad Leader and what have you, as a call out to the fall of the Third Reich with the passing of its designer this week. Kind of saddens me of all the great games and designs, but Third Reich was something that I was my first real strategy World War II game that I ever played. Many of you might have experienced abstract war games through chess, and that might be your introduction into the hobby in some respect. I mean, my first big major chess set got when I was, I think, 16, maybe a little bit younger, with nice double weighted pieces, heft to them. But it was the military feel of this. I mean, you had, knights and castles, the rooks, bishops and pawns, and so you felt like you were moving military pieces on a battlefield, and albeit in a very abstract way. This set right here I got in Peru, showing you that there is an international feel to the game as well, with its varied pieces, but still gave you the feel of these are those military pieces or those military units moving on an abstract space, but consistent with its culture or its feel of that time period. Later on, I got into chess or Chinese chess. Again, very abstract, and its pieces were even more felt more abstract, given that you had to understand the characters and what those different units. What the different moves of those units were, and they were very varied. I mean, there were units that jumped over the river and or shot over the river and moved in different ways. Plus, you were moving instead of on the hexes, you were moving on the lines. And there was the castle was a set piece, and that only certain pieces could move within this along these diagonals. But that was kind of my first experience into an abstract war game. And I'm going to do a deep dive and kind of go through a little bit more of a list of some of abstract war games, like Stratego and Risk and games like that they really don't have all the chrome of a war game, but they have some of the feel of it. So with that, this isn't that deep dive, but this is going to be an unboxing of War Chess, which to me follows in the same vein as chess and some of those other games that I mentioned, in that it's a war game. At least I feel it is, but it's an abstract one at that, with different pieces having different abilities or different movement, but yet you're playing on an abstract space trying to control certain areas. This game is designed by Trevor Benjamin and David Thompson. Yes, that David Thompson, who over the last few years has made quite a name for himself with a lot of his varied designs, many in the solo space, but a lot of different designs. This one, goes into along with Mr. Benjamin, it goes into his abstract designs. So anyway, let's get into the box here. One of the things that I think is consistent with a lot of abstract games, just as I was showing you that my first chess set there, or my first major chess set, is that sometimes there's the playing pieces themselves add to the playing experience. In chess, it's the shape of the pieces and their varied movements that you have to memorize, but depending on the set, whether you get something from Peru or a nice weighted set or or even a themed set. You know, there's nowadays there's Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and I remember years back watching TV and seeing a, you know, Civil War chess set. You know, but the pieces themselves add a little bit to the playability, or at least to the desire to play the game. And war chess is no different in that you're playing with these, you know, nice poker pieces or poker chips that that are representation of the pieces, and and you're manipulating those. So, you know, it's the heft and the feel in your hand, and as you're placing them on the board or playing them, that adds to the feel and the playability of the game. Now, this war chest, it has a magnetic little lip here, so this all kind of goes back into the board here, or back into the box. You know, folds back into the box for storage. You've got a little bit of a intro to the game here at the on the lid of it. And the story here is that on the day of his child's birth, the leader of the kingdom received gifts from dignitaries, well-wishers, and counselors. The king's greatest friend had been an old general who had advised him and helped him to protect his kingdom. He handed the young father a chess. So this is that chess. So basically, it's a game, but it has a story built around it. These are the storage trays where you're going to be storing the playing pieces. So it's kind of nice that that's back in here. There's some cards here. I don't know if these are bonus or extra materials. Got a bag here. Then you have these bags here. Now, the war chest is a 2 or 4. It's not 2-2-4. It's 2 or 4. You either play 2-player, meaning opposed, or you play 4-player as team, so 2 on a side. And these are the bags where you're going to be holding your playing pieces. So really nice felt bags here, drawstring bags that you put you'll be putting your playing pieces in and pulling them out. This game to me not only feels a little bit like chess in that lineage, but it also harkens back to a game called The Duke, which when I do my deep dive on Abstract, I'll cover that game as well, because there's some feel or some nods to that game I feel in this game as well. You get your rules here, which are, you have a player action summary on the back. The rules look like they're 19 pages, but there's credits there. And then you're going to have an explanation of some of the pieces here, or under frequently asked questions for each of the different pieces. So the rules themselves are less than, looks like they're probably, maybe 15 pages, but it looks like there might be some scenarios here. This is setups inspired by famous battles. So Gaugamela, Bannockburn, Cressy. So you got some famous battles here. Then you got some rules like for 4-player setup. So, I mean, the rules are not that complicated. You know, just not dual column, just single paragraph type setup, but full color with examples in here as well. The game is not overly complex and has some really interesting built-in mechanisms that, built-in meaning it kind of has a self-contained system of, you know, you have a limited number of playing units, and there's multiple uses of the playing units. You'll use them as the units on the board to attack, but you also have to play the unit of the same type, a chip of the same type, to move or attack. But you can also bolster, meaning you can add more than one unit more than one chip to a unit to make it tougher and can withstand more attacks. But you're limited, right? So if you put all your units out on the stack on the board, well, then you don't have any chips of that kind to move or attack. So it's a balancing of trying to keep enough chips available to actually move or attack with the unit, but also you want to have some on the board to use in the attacks or to withstand attacks. So it's an interesting system that's not overly complicated, and it's kind of built into the mechanics. And you're going to have different units, and there's going to be a card for the unit that tells you what the coin image is, but also what its move is. So each of the units have different moves, and it might have a special attack. It might have a special attributes or restrictions, and what its unit tactic is. So that's all laid out on a card, and then you'll have a unit for that, if depending on what the setup is. Here's the setup on the board. And in this setup, these are the units that player A will play, and these are the units that player B. So it's asymmetrical. You're not going to have archer versus archer. You're going to have, if these people pick one, then the other side's not going to be able to have that. And so every game is a little bit asymmetrical in that regard. But you're also not going to get your coins confused either in that regard. So there's your rules on that. You've got some counters here. These are to mark control, and where you can spawn units on the board. I think the expansion, they might have upgraded these maybe. The spoiler alert, I might be opening up the expansions at some point in the near future. So you get some counters here to go on the board just to delineate control. Then you get the board itself, and then you got the pieces packed in here. So there's not a lot to this game. As I said, it's abstract, and it's got some interesting mechanics that are kind of self-contained in there. So that's an example of the board. These are the places where you're trying to control, and you'll put your control marker out there. And to win a game, you have to control so many of those. So again, this is an abstract type situation. Although in that book you saw that you can recreate some battles, but you're recreating it in a very abstract sense. So these are the places you're trying to control, and this is where you would be able to spawn units and then move units, or spawn meaning put them on the board and then move units out from there by playing your chips. And then this, or coins, I think they call them. And then these places here on the side is where you're going to be doing your discards and playing your chips, and playing them face up to move or attack, or playing them on the board to bolster on top of another unit, or you can play them face down to do other things that are kind of hidden. And then when you run out of stuff to pull out of your bag, then you draw from the stuff that you've played out here, and then rinse and repeat, right? So it's kind of a bag builder in that regard, kind of akin to a deck builder, but you're building a bag instead. So this, let's see how hard these are to open here. But these are the real shining star of the game, are the coin units, or basically these poker chips. And as I said, these add to the feel of the game. Just like a war game counter, or miniature, right? Because a lot of board wargaming owes its origin to miniatures. The wargame miniatures themselves, added to the field, the military units. And again, we're kind of back to the old, chess pieces there. But there's a certain sense of feel that is added with these chips as well. As you can see, there's a nice heft to it. There's a nice feel to it. And they look really nice. So the backs are all the same, so that you don't know what there's a way to play things face down on in your discard pile to play and do movement and stuff. And so all the backs are the same, but the fronts are going to be unique to that unit, and you're going to have limited number of these units. So again, if you put all these on the board, you have nothing to play to actually do an attack or to do a movement by some of these chips or coins, or units, as I should say. So there's all kinds of units in here, and as I said, and then you'll store them in the storage area here. But as I said, I mean, there's a real nice feel to it, and you feel like maybe you are playing some kind of ancient game, or that was a gift from a general friend that plays out with these units. There's always there's been movies that have tried to recreate the feel of chess, or the appeal and the nostalgia of chess by creating their own games. There's been some sci-fi movies and others that try to recreate that without just going to or relying upon good old-fashioned chess as the game of kings. But this game, you know, kind of has a unique feel to it with these pieces here. So you're going to get a certain number of these units for a certain number of these poker chips or coins or whatever you want to call it for each one of the different units here. And as you hear there, they do have a nice heft to them and a nice ring as they hit hit my table. So anyway, I wanted to been anxious to do this unboxing. I was kind of holding back on this game for a while because I've really been focusing more on, you know, hex and counter type war games, or, you know, I do a lot of variety of war games, but abstract is something that kind of, in some respects, sort of got me into hobby. It was one of my earliest war games, if you count chess in that regard. And then followed shortly, you know, played Stratego and then played Risk, and the like. And so this feels very much in kind of that same vein, but has some interesting, you know, mechanics in there. And I might do a, you know, a playthrough or an after action at some point on this, because with an abstract, it's easy to do that. Although I have to, you know, this isn't, you know, really solitaire friendly. This is most abstract games. I mean, it's meant to be played and it's meant to be competitive. I'm kind of, everything's sticking to me today. Got a lot of static in the air here. But whoa, look at that! Let the chips fly. So yeah, these are all the different kind of units you have there. And nice colors to it. And then there's expansions. There's at least, I think, 2 expansions to this. Again, spoiler alert or teaser, I might get into that. But they add more units and they add some different, you know, rules to the game as well. Those are some special units there. That might be like the initiative maybe, or not certain what those are. I have to get into this game a little bit more. But there you have it. You get a lot of nice, thick playing pieces that I feel like add to the game. You get some counters, you know, for control markers in there. You got the rules, of course. You get these baggies. I'm not sure. I guess maybe these are all the cards. Yeah, so maybe that's all. These are all the cards. I thought this might be a bonus, but these are maybe apparently are all the cards for the different units. So there's a footman and how they move and what their tactic and what their abilities are. Archer, cavalry, light, crossbowman, ensign, knight, lancer. And so that, I think this has like a move and attack that could be devastating. But again, you're seeing some of the feel of, you know, chess. Kind of each of the units kind of have a chess move to it. But the way that it's not just sitting on the board, you have to bring them to the board by playing some of the pieces. Berserker, pikeman, scout, royal guard, swordsman, warrior piece. So as you can see here, you don't need a lot of different cards because, you know, the units are really these pieces are really the units on the board, or the playing pieces to activate them. These are really the key to it, and you just have the cards more as a reference, which is kind of a you know, nod to miniatures in some respect in that regard. So those are the cards that come with the game, and then of course you get the tray. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you today. Add a new playlist to my channel. You know, give you a teaser that I'll probably be looking into the expansions here. And I very well may I'm planning on doing like a deep dive that kind of goes through some general abstract games that I feel kind of fit into the abstract war game niche. And you might be surprised by some of them. You might say, oh yeah, that's obvious. But some of them I already mentioned in this video, but I want to do that video as well. But I thought I'd start with this because I wanted to do an unboxing on this. Anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on any of this. Have you played this? What do you think of this design? Do you not like abstract games? I mean, that's too far removed from what you want to accomplish or enjoy with wargaming. And this is just, you'd rather play chess or rather not play abstract at all because you want to get more into the chrome and the nuts and bolts of the scenario, the actual abilities of the units and supply maybe, and leadership and command. And when you there's a certain sense of abstracting of any war game, but when you just play a pure abstract game, you really are losing some of the appeal of why you want to get into the war game and to understand some of the history. Not a lot of history here. This is gameplay. This is more of playing this opposed or playing against teams, and it's the competition. It's the matching of wits and strategies, and trying to outthink your opponent, not in more of a pure sense, as opposed to trying to recreate or simulate the situation that might have been at a historical battle, and trying to do the command decisions or try to address what the weaknesses or strengths are of that situation based on the historical simulation or the capabilities of the units. That's all abstracted out here, and you're just playing a game. So anyway, love to hear your thoughts on that. Love to know what you think. That's what I have for you today. So as always, thanks for stopping by. Love to know you stopped by dropping a comment or something in there. God, I just got the sticky stuff all over. Anyway, that's all I have. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.